The board meeting was pure theater. I watched from my seat as the young CEO-elect dismantled my husband's legacy with surgical precision. Her presentation was flawless, every weakness in his leadership exposed, every misstep cataloged. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why this company needs new direction, she concluded, her gray eyes sweeping the room. Those eyes, why did they seem so familiar? My husband sat motionless beside me, his face ashen. 30 years of building this company, undone in 40 minutes by a woman half his age. The vote is unanimous, the board chairman announced. Welcome aboard, Ms. Blake. She smiled, a cold, satisfied curve of lips I'd seen before. But where? Thank you, she said smoothly. I look forward to implementing necessary changes. Her gaze lingered on my husband. Some long overdue. Later, in her office, I watched him pack while she observed from the doorway. The severance package is generous, she noted. More than you deserve. Who are you? He demanded. Really? Someone who did her homework. She examined his nameplate before dropping it in the trash. You should have done yours. That night, I found him in his study, drinking and staring at old photographs. One slipped from the stack, his first wife, Rebecca, holding their newborn daughter, both supposedly lost in a hospital fire 15 years ago. I should have seen it coming, he muttered. The hostile takeover, the shell companies, she planned this for years. You couldn't have known, I soothed, but something nagged at me. The new CEO's eyes, her smile. I waited until he passed out before accessing his private files. The official report was there. The fire, the bodies too damaged for visual identification, DNA tests confirming. DNA tests. I dug deeper, finding the original documents. The signatures looked perfect, too perfect. My hands shook as I compared them to other papers from that year. Identical. Not similar, identical. Someone had copied and pasted them. The photos from today's meeting filled my screen. Ms. Blake at the podium, her confident stance, those haunting eyes. I opened the family photo beside it. Rebecca holding her baby, both with the same striking gray eyes. Oh God, I whispered. The doorbell rang, making me jump. At this hour. Through the security camera, I saw her, Ms. Blake, still in her corporate armor. Mrs. Harrison, we need to talk. I glanced at my sleeping husband before opening the door. Come to fire the wife too. I tried to joke. No, she stepped inside, surveying our home with clinical interest. I came to thank you, actually, for being kind to him. He didn't deserve it. You're her, aren't you? The baby from the fire? She smiled. Rebecca's smile. There was no fire. Only a mother desperate enough to fake her death to save her child. From what? From becoming what he wanted. She trailed her fingers along the family photos, none showing his first family. A corporate puppet groomed from birth to inherit his empire. No choices, no freedom, no life of her own. My mind raced through the implications. Rebecca's alive. Retired now. She taught me everything. Business, strategy, patience. Then she let me choose. Walk away or take back what he stole. The company? My childhood. She turned those familiar eyes on me. Did you never wonder why there were no photos of his first family? Why he never talked about us? He said it was too painful. He said that about the nanny he fired for letting me take art classes. About the tutor who encouraged me to question things. About my mother when she finally had enough. I sank into a chair. Why tell me this? Because tomorrow the real changes begin. The board will discover his creative accounting, his offshore accounts, his systematic harassment of female employees. He'll blame you, of course. The devoted wife who handled his personal finances. I know. She pulled out a file. This proves your innocence, and your own separate accounts, the ones he doesn't know about. They'll remain untouched. I stared at her. You investigated me. Thoroughly. You're not like him. You tried to moderate his worst impulses, protect his employees. That's why I'm here, to offer you a choice. What choice? Stay and watch him fall, or take the settlement I'm offering and start fresh. Either way, you should know the truth. About what really happened 15 years ago. About why my mother ran. She placed a journal on the table. Read it. Then decide. The leather book felt heavy in my hands. Rebecca's diary. He's still my husband, I said quietly. So was he my father? But DNA doesn't excuse what he did. She moved toward the door. You have until tomorrow to decide. For what it's worth, I hope you choose freedom, like my mother did. After she left, I opened the diary with trembling fingers. Rebecca's elegant handwriting filled the pages, telling a story of control, manipulation, and finally desperate escape. He wants to make her a copy of himself, one entry read. Today he threw away her drawings, saying art is for people too weak to lead. She's 6 years old, and he's already crushing her spirit. Another. The boarding school interviews start tomorrow. He calls it early career preparation. She calls it prison. I can't let him lock her away. The final entry. If you're reading this, we're gone. Dead, according to the records. But somewhere, my daughter is drawing again. Creating instead of destroying. Becoming herself instead of his reflection. I looked at the corporate papers on his desk, the family photos missing 2 crucial faces. How had I never questioned it? Upstairs, he snored on, oblivious to his past catching up at last. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. She would have spared you, but he'll sacrifice you to save himself. Like he sacrificed us. Choose wisely. Rebecca, still protecting, still warning. I thought about the young CEO, raised in secret to be everything her father feared. Independent, powerful, unstoppable. The ultimate revenge wasn't destroying his company, it was becoming exactly what he didn't want her to be. A soft chime from my laptop, an email from Ms. Blake. The settlement offer was more than generous, enough to start over anywhere. I opened our safe, removing my private documents. Tomorrow, everything would change. His empire would crumble, his reputation shatter. And his daughter, risen from the ashes of a faked death, would finally reclaim her birthright. Not the company he built, but the freedom to destroy it. I packed a small bag, leaving the diary open on his desk. Let him wake to the truth, for once. On my way out, I paused at the family photo wall. So many pictures, none telling the real story. Tomorrow, his carefully crafted lies would burn. And from the flames, 3 women would emerge free. His ex-wife, his daughter, and now, his second wife. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's resurrection. The next morning exploded with headlines. I watched from my hotel room as financial networks dissected my husband's downfall. Decades of hidden transactions exposed, evidence handed to authorities on a silver platter. Breaking news. Harrison Industries CEO faces federal investigation. My phone buzzed constantly, reporters, friends, his lawyers. I ignored them all except one message. Turn on Channel 8. It's time you met my mother. The interview was already in progress. Rebecca sat poised and elegant, her gray hair the only sign of passing years. Beside her, Ms. Blake, their daughter, looked like a younger reflection. Yes, we faked our deaths, Rebecca was saying calmly. When your husband controls every aspect of your life, sometimes disappearing is the only way to survive. And now your daughter runs his company, the interviewer noted. She runs her company, Rebecca corrected, built from investments he never knew I made. While he was teaching her to follow, I was teaching her to lead. The camera zoomed in on their clasped hands, 2 generations of survival. Mrs. Harrison. A knock at my door. The new CEO stood there, looking younger somehow. Mother would like to meet you. I followed her to a private dining room where Rebecca waited. Up close, I saw the steel beneath her graceful exterior. Thank you for coming, she said, pouring tea. I suppose you have questions. Thousands, I admitted. But mainly why now? Because of this. She slid over a tablet showing internal company emails. My husband's voice rang clear in each one. The same controlling patterns, new victims. He's destroying more lives, her daughter added. We couldn't watch it continue. The company was just phase 1, Rebecca explained. Next comes the foundation. All those charitable donations he used for tax evasion. They'll be redirected to women's shelters. Specifically, ones helping others escape controlling relationships. Poetic justice, I murmured. Indeed. She studied me carefully. You know, he's already trying to blame you for the financial irregularities. I expected that. Which is why we protected you first, her daughter interjected. Every account, every transaction, we have proof of his sole involvement. Why help me? Because you tried to help others, Rebecca said softly. The employees he wanted to fire, the projects he wanted to cut, You fought for them. Quietly, but still fighting. I should have fought harder. You survived, her daughter stated flatly. Sometimes that's enough. My phone buzzed, his name flashing. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. Speaker, please. I answered. Where are you? He demanded. The lawyers need you to sign statements about the accounts. Statements saying what? That you handled all personal finances. It's the only way to protect our assets. You mean protect yourself? I replied calmly. Don't be difficult, after everything I've given you. Like you gave Rebecca and your daughter. Silence. They're dead, he said flatly. No, Rebecca spoke up. We're very much alive. Hello, darling. The phone clattered on his end. Impossible. Check the news, his daughter suggested. Mother gives an excellent interview. This is about money, he blustered. What do you want? Justice, 3 women answered in unison. The line went dead. Rebecca smiled sadly. That went better than our last conversation. At least he didn't throw anything. What happens now? I asked. Now? His daughter, I still couldn't think of her by name, leaned forward. Now we rebuild. The company will focus on ethical investments, supporting women-owned businesses. The kind of legacy he would hate. And me? That depends, Rebecca said. We're establishing a new division focusing on corporate responsibility and employee advocacy. It needs a director. Someone who understands the importance of protecting others, her daughter added meaningfully. I stared at them. You want me to work for you? With us, Rebecca corrected. Help us identify others trapped in controlling situations. Help us prevent what happened to us. Using his money, her daughter smiled sharply. Every penny he hid away, funding freedom for others. My phone buzzed again, his lawyer this time. They'll offer you immunity to testify against me, Rebecca warned. Probably, I agreed, declining the call. But I prefer justice to immunity. They both smiled, the same steel-edged smile that had dismantled an empire. Welcome to the family, Rebecca said softly. The real one. Later, watching the sun set over the city, I scrolled through messages from employees, thanking me for past help, offering support. I never realized how many lives I touched, trying to soften his hard edges. A new email arrived, security footage from his office. I watched him rage, throwing things, his carefully constructed world crumbling. Hard to watch. His daughter had returned. No, I realized. Hard to believe I ever feared him. Fear is his favorite weapon, along with shame, isolation, control. You learned all his tactics, only to dismantle them. She sat beside me. Mother wanted to wait longer, gather more evidence. But when I saw how he treated you, treated others, 15 years of planning felt long enough. Why didn't you just expose him immediately? Because true justice isn't just about punishment. It's about transformation. Taking what he built through control and transforming it into something that helps others escape control. My phone chimed. Another news alert. His face being led into federal offices. Transformation, I echoed. Like daughter becoming CEO, wife becoming survivor, victim becoming victor. Exactly. She smiled. Rebecca's smile, but warmer somehow. Ready to help us transform more lives. I thought about all the women still trapped in gilded cages, all the lives still controlled by powerful men. Yes, I said firmly. Where do we start? We start, Rebecca said from the doorway, by telling our story. All of it, together. 3 women, linked by one man's cruelty, now united in purpose. Tomorrow, we would begin transforming his legacy of control into a foundation of freedom. 6 months later, I stood at a podium facing a room full of survivors. The Foundation for Freedom, funded by my husband's hidden millions, had already helped hundreds of women escape controlling relationships. Control doesn't always leave visible bruises, I explained to the audience. Sometimes it's a tracked phone, a monitored bank account, a slow isolation from friends and family. In the front row, Rebecca nodded encouragingly. Behind her, her daughter, who now insisted I call her Emma, reviewed funding proposals for our newest initiative, Financial Independence Training for Survivors. Today, we're announcing a partnership with Harrison Industries' new leadership to provide job training and placement for survivors, I continued. Because economic freedom is true freedom. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. His own company, now helping women escape men like him. After the presentation, a young woman approached me, clutching her purse like a shield. "My husband tracks everything," she whispered. "Phone, car, credit cards. I can't even buy coffee without him knowing." Like this, Emma appeared, holding up a familiar tracking app, the same one her father had used on Rebecca. "We have tech specialists who can help." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "He says it's because he loves me." "That's not love," Rebecca said gently. "That's ownership, and you deserve better." Later in our weekly strategy meeting, we reviewed the foundation's progress. 57 women relocated this month, Emma reported, all with new jobs, secure housing, and untraceable accounts. "The support groups are flourishing," Rebecca added. "When women share their stories, they realize they're not alone." "And him?" I asked quietly. Emma smiled grimly, still claiming innocence, but with his assets frozen and evidence mounting, a plea deal looks likely. "He's offered to testify against other executives," Rebecca noted. "Apparently, he's not the only one with secrets." Speaking of secrets, Emma slid a folder across the table. "Remember that private island he claimed was for corporate retreats?" I opened the file, scanning the documents. It was a bolt hole, somewhere to hide assets, and himself if needed, Rebecca finished. "We've converted it into a sanctuary, a safe place for women and children to rebuild their lives." The symmetry was perfect, his escape plan transformed into others' salvation. My phone buzzed with a familiar number. His lawyer again. "He wants to meet," I told them, "to explain everything." "Are you going?" Emma asked carefully. I thought about the young woman from earlier, about all the others still trapped in beautiful prisons. "Yes," I decided, "but not alone." The prison visiting room was stark under fluorescent lights. He'd aged years and months, his polished facade cracked. "You've turned my own daughter against me," he accused as we sat down. "No," Emma replied calmly. "You did that yourself 15 years ago. I gave you everything." "You tried to own us," Rebecca corrected. "There's a difference." He turned to me, switching tactics. "They've poisoned you against me. Everything I did was for our security, our future." "Our future?" I echoed. "Or your control?" "You don't understand." "We understand perfectly," Emma interrupted. "Every transaction, every manipulation, every life you tried to own. That's why we're here." "To gloat?" "To offer you a choice," Rebecca said. "The same choice you never gave us." I placed a document on the table. Full confession, detailing everything. "In exchange, the foundation helps other men like you change. Rehabilitation instead of just punishment," Emma explained. "Because even controllers can learn to let go." He stared at the paper. "And if I refuse?" "Then we continue transforming everything you built into freedom for others," I said simply. "With or without you." After a long moment, he reached for the pen. Later, watching the sunset from our foundation's offices, I stood with my unlikely family, the ex-wife who refused to be broken, the daughter who turned vengeance into justice, and me, the second wife who found strength in their truth. "Do you think he'll really change?" Emma wondered. "Perhaps," Rebecca mused, "but that's not why we gave him the choice." "Why then?" "To show that even after everything, we choose to be better than what he made us fear." Below us, the city sparkled with possibility. Somewhere out there, women were breaking free, finding strength, rebuilding lives. And in a small way, we had all been rebuilt too, not as victims or survivors, but as architects of change. "Ready for tomorrow?" Emma asked, reviewing our next project. I smiled at my new family, these warriors disguised as women. "Always," I said. "There are still so many cages to open." Together, we had transformed his legacy of control into a symphony of freedom. And that was the greatest victory of all.